Shattering Red Chapter 10. Skill Sets and Exits. "I'm retiring," Luck laughed. His employees gave him a worried look. "I'm retiring and my sister is taking over." Everyone looked at each other, raised their glasses in salute to their new leader, and cheered. Suvi smiled and took over. Luck stepped down and let her take the lead. He joined the small group at the table they had chosen. "She will do great here. She has helped me run this place on occasion, and I've always registered the business under her name, with her permission, just in case I would need to make a quick exit. I never told her that last part, though." He watched his sister with an amused grin for a few minutes before letting out a small sigh and glancing around the place he had built with his own hands. He would just have to walk away from it. "You're not getting sentimental now, are you?" Faust questioned jovially. "You're still far too young for that. You have so many adventures ahead of you. Most of them will likely be disappointing, but that's when the sentiment is supposed to kick in. When you're old and wandering down memories that won't serve you any good anyway." He laughed. Luck raised an eyebrow, not knowing how to take in that information. "It would probably do us all some good to go over tomorrow's plans," Vita said, in hopes to change the direction of the conversation. It worked. "We should." Luck clapped his large hands together to send home that point. "Let's go back to the loft to discuss, shall we?" He caught his sister's attention and let her know with a gesture that they were headed upstairs. She nodded understandingly, but continued to talk and answer questions. Once back into the quietude of his loft, Luck let out a big yawn and stretched. "Did you find everything we needed to get underway tomorrow?" "Everything you asked for, and a little bit more," Vita said, dumping the entomos out across the table. Luck gave her a look that clearly asked if that was necessary. Faust took a seat on the couch and started removing the foodstuffs they had picked up for their journey. "We didn't prepare quite enough food last time. We will all be more content on the way back than we were on the way here," Faust exclaimed, very proud of coming in with nothing and leaving with excess supplies. They had picked up a few more blankets and ropes, a small cache of toiletries, and Vita's favorite item, 3 containers of large predator mace. "In case of lions," Vita grinned, not wanting to count on nature already being well fed if they should encounter each other. Each had a holster so they could easily equip it when not together. "Were there a lot of beasts on the journey over?" Luck asked, letting his worry show. Vita and Faust exchanged glances, not wanting to add worry to their trip. "Hopefully not," Faust stated. "But there's always a possibility." "If we do," Vita patted the canisters, "these should take care of the threat." She smiled reassuringly. "Fair enough," Luck nodded as he pulled out a map that detailed all 3 circles of interim. He pointed smack dab into the center of the map and said, "Let's go over how tomorrow." Late the next morning, Faust and Vita were tucking their last few items into their packs on their birds when Luck and Suvi joined them at the tables. "You didn't forget 'em out, did you?" Faust asked as Luck reached up to pet Mitch on the beak. "Nah, I just prefer a different kind." His lips pulled up in a wide, pleasing arc. He was dressed in a dark blue, loose-fitting tank top and long, loose black pants with several large pockets on either side, and a long, blue-gray robe-like jacket over everything. His sister, who was dressed in a glitzy outfit for her takeover, was carrying a domed silver bag that was clearly his. Luck motioned to her to place the bag down. They almost looked like a pair of magicians in their loud clothing. Suvi set the chrome object where he gestured and took a few careful steps back. Vita was impressed by how she managed to wear the stilettos in the stable and still look graceful. "Watch!" Luck very dramatically pulled a little cord that appeared stitched into one of the straps on the back of the bag, and he too took a step back. The zipper undid itself, and a metal frame popped up and began expanding with little sighs. The birds fluffed up and hissed, stepping back as the metal frame took on a refined skeletal equine shape. "It's made from a magnesium-based alloy. It makes it super lightweight, but super durable. Of course, it was produced with the entomo, so I can pull here." He tugged on the tail, and down pops Nellie. It folded neatly back into its backpack shape. He pushed it again, and the metallic horse popped out, and his sister handed him his larger bag, which had been tucked in the corner, and he tossed it onto the hindquarters of the fake thoroughbred, and it conformed to its shape. It had a set of large clips that he tucked in. He was seemingly all ready to go. "Is that a cup holder?" Vita pointed to a spot on the horse's shoulder. "Of course. I have spots for my tech as well, so I can work while we ride. Comfort is important, right? He nodded, not needing anyone's permission for the luxury he made for himself. If comfort is what you're looking for, you should stay put, Faust laughed as he draped the blanket saddle over his bird. Your grave would be a lot more comfortable than traveling between cities, even if it's a relatively short trip. If they killed you, it would probably be short and sweet. That's not always the case with these guys. I've heard rumors that they will draw it out and take their time. I would rather not learn their lesson. Thank you. Luck retorted, with a face that said the joke was too soon. Shall we get started then? Vita asked, hopping onto her bird, who spun about in a circle of excitement after being cooped up. In a minute. Luck went over to his sister and gave her a big hug, which she warmly returned. For things to work properly, I won't get a chance to see you after the plan. I love you. I will miss you. I hope this place does well for you, however you change it. It's your cupcake now. She gave him another hug. Just please don't go off and get yourself killed over something stupid, okay? She pointed at Vita and Faust. You two better take care of him, not just take advantage. Hey now, remember, they're helping me. I put myself in the way of trouble. It worked out for me until now, but that was my doing. He smiled haphazardly, which brings up my last gift to you. He dug around in one of his oversized pants pockets and produced a small, fat, weathered journal. What's this old thing? Suvi questioned, inspecting the book. The secret to my success, Luck answered. And that is? Suvi looked at him wide-eyed. The man that created the Entomo created his own background operating system, a very elaborate backdoor. I found his journal as a teen. It's what set me apart from everyone else. I know the code. Luck winked. Don't spread it around, though. I think it would cause too much harm. With it, you can do just about anything you want. Don't let that power go to your head. He knocked her on the head once. And don't worry about the value. That is just a copy of the original. This changes everything. And explains so much. No wonder you're so cocky about coding. You cheated! His sister accused him, amused, not out of anger. No, I just figured out what others didn't. Do you know what I went through to get that? Do you know why I have a healthy fear of the wilds? I tried it once without a guide, and it did not turn out so well other than I made it back with my bounty. Now, let's go cause some mayhem. There was a mischievous glint in his eyes that invigorated the group. They all split into different directions. Vito was taking the closest exit from the inner circle to the east. Faust was taking the northern entrance, and Luck was taking the southern, while Suvi took the westernmost. Luck had gotten their mounts day passes into the city so no one could pull them over or expel them from the city. Vita's bird, Fletcher, had had the access pass clipped securely to the front of his harness. She made it to the city with no issues. No one even stopped to glance in her direction, which was fine. She hadn't done anything wrong. Yet. She pulled out the piece of paper that had her directions on it. There was a box a few blocks away, attached to the side of a building that was the main Entomo control box for the area. Because the Entomo were a commercial interest in this town, there are only 5 controlling units throughout the city. If I tap into all of them at once, I can have complete control. Not that I need to actually be in control with these. Luck's voice sounded in her head as she unpocketed the little bag filled with Entomo creatures that Luck had handed them the night before. Just get close enough to the box, let them out, activate them with a push of a button, and they will do the rest. She found the box with ease. No one even came close to being interested in interacting with it. It was just a dark gray, thick tower with a pole that stuck out from the top with a light. She wouldn't have even known it was more than a street light if Luck hadn't described what it was for her. She looked around for a clock. Luck said that there should be one on any of the ad screens throughout the city, and there was one right above her head. They were supposed to wait until 12:17 p.m., just to be sure they were all in position, so everything they planned happened simultaneously throughout the city. Luck had not bothered to fill them in on what would happen, just that it was guaranteed to upset the owners of Oblong and would give the whole town a reason to remember him with a smile. There were just 5 short minutes before the designated time. She just waited until the appropriate moment. Vita didn't even bother to get off her bird. A security officer eyed her for a second, then moved on. She fought to keep it cool and not look suspicious, and it drove her heart rate up. Once the clock switched over, she dumped the little robots that resembled crane flies into her hand. The hardest part was pushing the button. The small beast's thorax pushed in to activate the critter. The tip of a safety pin helped her move a little faster. The mechanical creatures were built so small that they would go unnoticed as mechanical things unless a person was really looking for it. They were each given 5 of them. And once triggered, the robots flew to the box and took care of the rest. The only other thing she was supposed to do was hightail it out of town. Curiosity got the better of her, though, and she decided to wait for a moment to see what would happen. The bugs did exactly what they were supposed to do. A minute later, all the screens displaying ads through the city changed. Building windows jumped into light. The whole city lit up as a giant screen, one after the next, all displayed the same thing. A video of Luck's bare ass. The muscular, well-toned thing flexing and wiggling across the screen. The background was old television static. The upbeat electronic music was an added bonus. "Oh shit," Vita laughed out loud hard, then pulled on her leads and dashed from the city. The screens were everywhere and unavoidable. Luck's voice echoed through the city as his naked bum danced around the screen. "You should have known better than to mess with the letter. Here's a little ditty that might make you feel uneasy. Your control on tech has made the city a mess, but now your luck has run out. Your control is in doubt. Your favorite hacker became a slasher, and now it's time to move out." He sang along to the blipping. It continued on, but she was out of the city before the song could finish. She was howling with laughter as she rode through the inner city and the outskirts of town by the eastern sign they had passed while coming into town. Vita stopped there because that's where she, Faust, and Luck intended to meet. A few minutes later, Luck showed up. He was laughing so hard tears were still streaming down his cheeks. "What all did you do with that stunt?" Vita asked, his outright joy in the matter infectious. "I literally and figuratively put a bug in their system. They will have to reset everything to get it back to normal, and even then, they may have problems for a while. That video is set to play nonstop on all screens for a week straight, and there is no way they can bypass it without my back door." Luck couldn't help but laugh at the bad pun. Why, though? She figured she knew, but was getting a little nervous about Faust's continued absence, and talking was comforting. "They were gonna come after me. Why not be a thorn in their sides? It's for fun, more or less. And now you have witnessed my skills and know what I am capable of." He winked. "What did you think of my show?" "I thought you made your point well," she giggled. "How did my ass look?" He did a funny, mocking wiggle in his saddle. "Practically slappable," she blushed. "At least, I'm sure lots of people were thinking that." Faust rode in at that moment, and there looked to be a small group of people in their own mounts a small distance behind him. "What are you waiting for?" he yelled at them. "Get going!" The two glanced at each other, and then back at the oncoming party, and the dust cloud that followed. "Get going!" Faust yelled again in disbelief that they had not moved yet when he was 5 yards from them. "Follow me then," Vita said, and took the lead. All she knew was to head east. She didn't know the exact path, nor did she have the same equipment as Faust or Luck. She did remember a little bit of the landscape as they had been coming in, though, and thought she knew enough to get them started. The heat of the desert only added to her feeling of dread. It was short-lived, however, because Luck started to rummage around in his pockets. "Move over to your right!" he shouted at Faust, and waved a hand to show him which direction to go. Faust listened, and started to fill the gap between them, shifting to the right. Luck pulled out a small handful of metallic items. He took a moment to fuss with them, then tossed them one by one behind him. They left his hand with a little blinking light and a whizzing sound. The devices sought out the people trailing them and stuck to their clothing. Soon after landing, there were 3 small booms, and they were no longer pursued. They all slowed down to a trot. "What were those?" Faust asked, catching up. "Precautions," Luck replied. "I didn't think we would be followed, but I wasn't about to chance it either," he stated coldly. "I'm glad I'm on your side," Faust admitted. "Let's hope it stays that way," Luck answered, as he eyeballed the curves riding ahead of them. Faust missed the glance, as he was occupied by the dust settling and the unmoving red lumps behind them. The desert sun showed them no mercy as they plunged away from the city, watching specks of large black birds descend on the bloody mounds. Thanks so much for listening to Chapter 10 of Shattering Red. If you've liked what you've heard so far, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, or whatever it is that you do to make sure that you can listen to the next chapter. I will post my Amazon and Kofi link as I do with all of these chapters. And until next time, I hope you keep listening, and I hope you take care.